Alrighty, so as I'm about to make the long drive to Coachella Valley, 500 miles, of course that is, I'm gonna do a season preview, and this is definitely a season preview that I've been waiting to do for a very long time. Probably my most anticipated one, not just because, this is one of my team, but I think besides Inter Miami, Minnesota United probably have the craziest all season out of anybody. And I know some people might say this is maybe a little bit biased on my part because I'm a Loons fan, but when you look at all the movements that has happened this all season, and on top of what just happened in the last couple of days, which feels like it's a cherry on the top of an off season that is just absolutely a bombshell. I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see how this team is going to look heading into this season, and there's definitely going to be a lot of question heading into this season with the way that it's definitely going to be a completely different structure under new head coach Cam Nolan's, and the fact that the elephant in the room in terms of what we saw in the last couple of days, how will James Rodriguez fare with this Minnesota team? That being said, last season, they did finish with a 16-10-8 record and finished with 58 points, which is the most points that this team has ever had in franchise history. But they did lose in the second round once again, this time to expansion team San Diego FC. Their last playoff appearance was 2025. They're still looking for their first ever MLS Cup. So as they're heading into their 10th season, and I do think that with the way that this team feels like they're at an almost all the time in terms of reaching it. I mean, there are definitely that hope. The fact that eventually they will reach that mark. Obviously, 2020 was the closest that they of course got there, and if they can continue to improve, and that's a big if because anything about Minnesota sports culture, it feels like it's always the almost, but not the moment where they finally get over the hump as a way to finally get themselves to an MLS Cup and maybe even winning their first MLS Cup and finally winning the first title that a Minnesota sports team have not done since the 91 Twins did. Now, look at the last 5 seasons. So last season, as I mentioned, best season in franchise history with a 16-10-8 record and finished with 58 points, but they lost to San Diego in the second round. In 2024, they finished 15-7-12, finished with 52 points, but lost to the LA Galaxy in the second round. In 2023, they finished 10, 11, and 13 and finished with 41 points. Didn't make it to the playoffs. Only the third time in franchise history that they did not make it to the playoffs. In fact, it's kind of hard to believe that, for a team that's been in the league for 9 years, they've only missed the playoffs 3 times, and two of them was in their first 2 seasons as part of the 3 year plan that Adrian Heath of course had. And the first 2 year, it feels like the Loons were just happy to be here. But this team has always consistently make the playoffs, and this is one of the rare seasons where they didn't make it to the playoffs. In 2022, they finished with 14-6-14 record, finished with 48 points, but they lost to FC Dallas in the first round. And then in 2021, they finished with a 13-10-11 record, finished with 49 points, but they also lost in the first round, this time on the road against the Portland Timbers. Now, looking at some of the signings, and yeah, as we all know what happened a couple of days ago, an absolute bombshell, a move that no one saw coming. I mean, if you would have told me maybe in the beginning of the all season or even just 2 weeks ago that James Rodriguez would be a Minnesota United player, I wouldn't believe you. I would have thought that would be just almost a pipe dream, but here we are. James Rodriguez is officially a Minnesota United player, and of course, we'll definitely talk about the big question about him and whether or not will he make some impact on this team, and especially whether or not if he's actually going to be staying with this team for the full season, because the current deal that he has is that he's going to be signing with this team on a 6 month deal, but there is also an option where he can extend it to the end of the season. And of course, the 6 month deal, the reason why they decided to make that deal is because it's pretty clear that James Rodriguez need a team to try to prepare himself for the Colombian national team in the World Cup. And I'm okay with him using the Loons as a launch pad in terms of it, but it'll be very interesting to see what kind of impact, of course, he'll make with this team. They also got Maurizio Gonzalez, a very under the radar kind of move, but I do kind of like that move as well. They also got Peter Stroud, which seems like it's the Hassani Dotson replacement after they decided to not sign him a contract extension. And then they of course got a new goalkeeper in Drake Calendar after that certain snake called Dane Sinclair decided to ring chase and go to Inter Miami. And then for their super draft pick, they got Marcus Caldera as well. Looking at players that no longer on this team, there are a lot of key players that's no longer this team. First of all, Jose Rosales, of course, going to Austin FC, and then the Snake himself, Dane Sinclair, decided to ring chase and join his idol in Lionel Messi down into Miami. Then you got Robin Lod going to the Chicago Fire. As I said before when I did my season preview with the Fire, it's gonna be very weird seeing Robin Lod not in the black and blue of Minnesota United. I mean, I'm definitely gonna be rooting for him to do well, except for the time if Minnesota does play against the Chicago Fire. But yeah, that this one kind of sting up a little bit, especially with him being there for so long with this team and being such a fan favorite with this team. But I also said before in my moving forward series about Minnesota, the fact that I feel like it was kind of time to do so, especially just doesn't really offer that much to this team as we've seen in season past. They also move on from Samuel Shashoa and then Kip Kelly. They decide to, or Kip Keller, who decided they not renew his loan as well. They also send Ho Young Jin on loan as well, and they do the same thing with Mateus Kemet as well, going back on loan in Slovenia. Now, looking at the first 5 games of the season, absolute brutal start to the season for Minnesota. In fact, their first half of the season is absolutely brutal, and I guess maybe that's kind of the reason why James Rodriguez decided to come to this team because he probably saw the schedule and say, "Hey, that would be a great way to test myself, especially facing against the best of the best in MLS." They do have a little bit of an easy start, or at least on the road against Austin. Though I say easy, it's not easy whenever you could play on the road. But the Loons have done very well on the road, at least in the last couple of seasons. So yeah, they play Austin on the road, which is the same matchup that they of course faced for their season opener just 2 years ago. They won that match as well, so I'm confident that they can get something going in that match under Cam Nola's debut match. But then after that, they get Cincinnati at home before go on the road to face against Nashville, go on the road to face against Vancouver, and then playing at home against the Seattle Sounders. Easily, probably the toughest schedule I've seen a team has in their first 5 game of the season. But the good news is the schedule does get a little easier on the back end of it. They have St. Louis on October 17th as the first of the last 5 games. Then they go on the road to face against the Houston Dynamo, the Marcana Derby, also known as the Dylan Whopper Derby, that is. Then they have the nicest rivalry in MLS against Sporting KC at home. Then they go on the road to face against LAFC, which is probably the toughest matchup they'll have in the last 5 games. And then for the decision day matchup, it's probably the first time I see the Blues not be happening on decision day. But that, of course, is the case. Actually, I take that back. This is not the first time that Minnesota play against the San Jose Earthquakes on decision day. In fact, how in the world did I forgot about what happened in 2017 and what a match game that was for the Quakes itself to sneak in to the playoffs. So hopefully the Quakes, of course, will do the same thing as well. But I don't think that's going to be the case because as we'll talk about the Quakes in just a bit, while one of my team is doing pretty well, at least in terms of making signing, the Quakes are forgetting that the offseason basically exists. So the strength of this team, I think it's the defense. The defense is definitely the strong part of this team. And I wonder when you look at the defense of this season and especially under Cam Nolas, I wonder if he's going to go with a five back system once again. They definitely have the defender to go with the five-back system, and especially with question in terms of the fullback, which that perfectly jumped into the weakness of this team. The fullback depth is a bit of a problem with this team. On one hand, in the left back position, you have Anthony Markanig. It's going to be interesting to see whether if he's just going to be play as a left back. I feel like he fits more playing in a left wing back position, especially with the goals that he scored last season, and even in the first preseason game against Sporting KC, kind of picked up where he left off, scoring 2 more goals of his own. I feel like he's more comfortable, at least on an attacking end. But then on the right wing back spot, that's kind of where the big question is. And, I think their best option really on the right wing back is Julian Gresso, which, yeah, not really the best option because Gresso kind of had a rough season last year in his half season debut with Minnesota. So that definitely is going to be an area that they're going to have to address. And then, of course, it's the number 9 position. And, I will say that as much as I know a lot of Loons fans have made a deal about the number 9 position, and I know a lot of people have talked about the number 9 position as a big weakness. I mean, it probably could couldn't be a weakness, or it could definitely rectify if Calvin Yoboa can have a bounce back season. And at least from what I also saw in the first preseason game against Sporting KC, he scored a goal in that game. And I know it's preseason, but that's very important for Calvin Yoboa. I mean, Yoboa last season, we know how much he struggled, especially in the second half of the season. My bet is that the reason why Yoboa struggled in the second half of the season is the fact that he was dealing with injury, and then there was that pressure that once Tani moved on from this team, he's got to be the guy to do so, and maybe that pressure kind of got to him. Well, now he's gonna have that same pressure again, but only this time. The difference is that they do have a decent backup option in Mamadou Dieng. I can't believe a lot of Loons fans and even the media forgot the fact that this team has Mamadou Dieng, a guy that I have a lot of faith and definitely I'm very excited what he can do coming off the bench, and with the way that his profile is, it fits very similar to what Tani Oloshea is with the way that they are both a very physical kind of present and a very fast kind of player as well. I even said that when they of course got Dian in the last summer transfer window, it feels like that's Tani 2.0 all of a sudden. A guy coming from the USL Championship, lit up the USL Championship, and come into MLS and potentially can dominate. So yeah, in case if Yoboa doesn't work out, I know all signs will maybe say, well, why not them getting a DP number 9? I don't think they necessarily need to do, because why not you give a chance to Mamadou Dieng and see what he can do, and see whether or not if he can do something similar to what Tani Oloshai did to this team, and is the reason why he got that big move to Villarreal in the last season in September as well. So the free big question of this team, there's actually more than the free big question that I of course want to talk about, because there's a lot of question with this team and a lot of uncertainty. I think the first big question obviously has to be the elephant in the room with James Rodriguez. What kind of impact and influence that he will make? Of course, have heard a lot of people that has some mixed reaction about James Rodriguez going to Minnesota. On one hand, there are people that are very happy that he of course go to Minnesota. This is by far the biggest name that Minnesota United has ever had in their franchise history, and it's a guy that's definitely going to sell a lot of shirt and have a lot of the Colombian fans have their eyes on the Loons, and that one of the rare time that Minnesota is kind of in the spotlight of the world as well, and it's not related to the what protest that's going on in the Twin Cities. So yeah, obviously that of course is the positive. But the negative, obviously, is the fact that there's been talks, the fact that he isn't really in shape, and the fact that he's kind of a little bit washed, kind of way over the hill. My only thing I will say about this and kind of counter on that statement is the fact that I think that as much as I know some people say that he might be a little over the hill, and maybe this might be similar to the Timu Puki situation. When Puki came into this team, he was kind of a little over the hill. I mean, he still had a decent kind of season for Minnesota, but after the second year, you can see he just doesn't have it anymore in him. The counter I would say about James Rodriguez is because, as I mentioned, it feels like he's using this team as a launch pad to his World Cup campaign. I think he is definitely going to be up for it, and the fact that he want to get himself back to competitive as edge, and also want to make sure that he is match sharpness, because Colombia really needs him in the World Cup. He is the star man for Colombia, and I know some people will also say, well, he's always do well with Colombia and not in the club level as well. Well, yeah, that of course is true, but at the end of the day, any footballers and soccer players would still need to be at their best and really have match day fitness before they get into their country. I mean, I know James Rodriguez have done much better with his country than he does in the club level, but still, you can't just have a player that is just kind of sitting on the bench and not playing, and then once the World Cup comes, you expect him to light it up again, even though he has no match day fitness and also no comparative sharpness, which is kind of the reason why he decided to go to Minnesota United in the first place. Now, after the World Cup is over, that's where I think it's going to be the big question, because again, that's where I do kind of agree with the negativity, and also just kind of the people that are criticizing turn this move, the fact that yeah, after the World Cup is over, is he still going to be motivated? I want to say yes, mainly because if this team is still going to be among one of the best team in the West, I think he'll be motivated knowing that you have a chance to win a trophy. I mean, for a player, you're always going to be motivated if there's a trophy on the line, and if you're definitely competitive. So I think with that, maybe that of course will work out. But let's say if this team is struggling and maybe are below the red line by the time the World Cup comes, that's where I think that maybe I wouldn't blame the fact that James Rodriguez might stop trying, because why would he decide to continue to give it his best when he's joining a team that probably are not going to do very well for the rest of the season, maybe not even make it to the playoffs. And that's also where it brings up to the next big question, the fact that, yeah, when if that does happen, do they maybe decided to not picked up his option and go somewhere else? I've said this before, the fact that it feels like maybe it's just a temporary solution in terms of the Loons maybe looking for that DP10 as well in the future, and that I think they definitely will have a big decision that they'll have to make in the summer. But for now, as I said before, I'm just gonna enjoy the fact that James Rodriguez is on this team, and I don't care what the naysayer, of course, had said about this team. This team need a big name player. I would never be upset in terms of having a big name player to be on this team, especially for a big name player to really put Minnesota on the map for once in the soccer world. And yeah, that signing of James Rodriguez have definitely did it a couple of days ago. Really shocking signing as well. So now the second big question, obviously, is the change of tactics. So there's no doubt that I think Cam Nolis is going to abandon the Ramsey ball. We're not going to see this team be like what they were last season, heading into this year, where they're not going to just sit back and just heavily rely on the counter and heavily rely on the set piece. I mean, I think they'll still rely on the set piece and the long throw in. I don't think that's going to be abandoned. I think Cam Nolis have mentioned before the fact that he likes the long throw in, and the long throw in has always been a dangerous game. It's been such a dangerous weapon. The fact that other teams have started to try more and more, and I just don't see the Loons completely abandon that. Consider you literally have probably one of the best long throw taker in Michael Boxall, and you also have the guy that is probably the most dangerous when it comes to meeting the second ball from those long throw in, and Anthony Mark. So I think that, of course, will be stayed. They'll definitely still rely on set pieces. But when it comes to just sitting back and kind of bunker, like they've done for much for the last season, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think they're going to be more of a possession team. And the James Rodriguez signing, I think that's another thing that maybe will make this team more of a possession team. You don't get James Rodriguez just to sit back and defend like about 60 or 70% of the time in the game. I think they're gonna definitely be more possession based, and I'm interested to see how that's gonna to have an impact in terms of this team, because there's one thing for teams that's known to defend, as it's been drawing them, but it is very interesting and at times kind of difficult to have that change of philosophy just straight away. I also wouldn't be surprised if this team maybe struggle in the beginning of the season, and it's not just because of the fact that they're facing against tough opponent. But with the change of philosophy that Cam Nolis has had, it's going to take time to get this team to follow that philosophy. We saw what BJ Callahan did with Nashville when Nashville was kind of moving away from the Gary Smith ball of being a more defensive team and being a more possession team. And for them, it kind of took a while as well before it kind of got to this stage. And that's where I think Loons fans got to be patient about this. They can't just say that, oh, look at these bad performances. Look at this losing streak that we're on. We should just go back to playing Ramsey ball. No, I think that there's no doubt that Cam Nolan and this team wants to play a more possession style. And it's also been shown in the past that, with kind of the style that Eric Ramsey was running, it wasn't really going to be sustainable. There was no way that what we saw last season with the team being so good on the counterattack and being pretty much the set piece king of MLS, that was going to be sustainable heading into this year as well. So yeah, I do think that this is the right move for them to go with a change of tactics, and that I also wouldn't be surprised the fact that it might take a while for it to get going, and that there's going to be some frustration, especially in the beginning of the season. but I am banking the fact that eventually this team will learn this system. They might even learn this system as soon as this preseason as well. If they have a good preseason, and I know I've said before, don't look too much into the preseason, but if they do have a preseason and the team is committed to that, it might get them to know the system much faster than it is. And the other thing I will also say about this tactics that Cam Nola's has had, it's just kind of in some ways similar to a little bit of what Adrian Heath used to do with being a pressing kind of team. They are going to definitely press more this season than what we saw last season as well. So maybe with some of these guys that are still on this team that was still part of Adrian Heath, there are still a good amount of players that was part of the Adrian Heath regime. They'll probably already they know the system that they had a couple years ago, and now it's just that they're bringing back with Cam Nolas being the one that is taking charge of that. And then last but not least, will they continue to make signings to address the fullback depth? So, as amazing as the James Rodriguez signing, I don't think the Loons are done when it comes to the signings, and especially with the way that they have the most gap in the league. I mean, you gotta say they gotta at least spend some of that on players, especially maybe even fullback depth as well. It's not an easy area to address, but I wouldn't be surprised they might do so from now to the beginning of the season, or maybe even during the summer transfer window as well, of trying to get a proper fullback. I mean, in some way they try to do so, didn't they? Of course, try to sign that Sharon Larry's kind of guy as the fullback, and obviously that didn't quite work out. They're gonna keep trying, and I do believe that eventually they will make that sign. There's one thing I am confident at least is this front office. As much as I know at times maybe they delay the signing and they kind of maybe piss Loons fans off that they make those signings a little bit too late. They always will deliver at the end of the day. So I do trust that Khalil Ahmed will figure it out to make the right signings to really improve what really is kind of one of the biggest weakness of this team besides the number 9 position. So my prediction for this team for high, I'm gonna go with the same place that they finish. I do think that this season they're gonna regress. I mean, with all the good pieces that they lost this season, regression is definitely going to happen. I don't think they're going to have as good of a season as last year, and especially with this change of system and the fact that they have such a tough schedule to start the season. I wouldn't be surprised that this might be a second half team and a team that could really make the run in the second half and maybe somehow luck their way to get themselves in fourth position once again in the league. The low I would say is 12th place, and again the reason why I say that is the fact that again, if they have a terrible start to the first half of the season and can't really quite recover in the second half of the season as well, it feels like this team could miss out on the playoffs. And if that, of course, is the case, I mean, this is where the Lose could be in a tough position because if you don't make it to the playoffs, do you kind of admit the fact that all the sales that you did and the main core that you kind of dismantled last year was kind of a mistake? I mean, that's where it gets very interesting. Again, I do think that this team is going to get better as the season goes along, and this is where I really hope Loons fans will at least give the benefit of the doubt, at least in the beginning of the season, especially with Cam Nolas. I mean, one thing I will also say that maybe as much as I'm kind of down on this team, especially in the beginning of the season, is that let's not forget about the new head coach boost. The new head coach boost is definitely a thing. We've seen it in the league, and it feels like maybe some of these players might be motivated in the beginning of the season because of the way that it feels like now that the shackle is definitely off. The fact that they're be more express themselves at least on the attack end and keep more possession than what we see in previous season, and not just have to defend pretty much in the entire game. Maybe that will give some confidence to these players, and especially playing under a new head coach. Maybe these players will really try hard to impress their new boss as well, and that's where the new head coach boost basically comes into the place, and that's is something that they'll definitely need because again, some of these opponents that they'll face, it's definitely not going to be easy whatsoever. But like I said, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you like, smash the subscribe button. And again, by far the longest season preview I did because there was a lot to cover with this team, and I don't think I even cover most of the things about this team as well. I didn't even talk about the midfield situation, whether if I'm okay with that. I think I'm okay with it. Will Trapp had a pretty good season last year as well. Not quite sure if he's going to have another good season. And then Triantis, we know how much of a menace he is. He's finally the number 6 and the proper Ozzy Alonso replacement that this team has been looking for in years now. So I'm excited to see how he's going to do as well heading into this season. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you like, smash the subscribe button. If you're a Loons fan like myself, what do you think is the strength, the weakness, the free big question, and your prediction on how this team is going to look heading into this season? But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.